Welcome back to URL versus IRL, you guys. Happy Tuesday, or at least I hope it's Tuesday when you're listening to this episode, because that is the day that we release these podcasts, and I would hope that you would know that by now. I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't watch the YouTube episodes of this podcast, I would highly suggest it, because we're in a really cool place today, okay? First of all, I want to make a couple points here. I think that by now, a lot of people know that I've been a motorsports athlete my entire life. And by now, a lot of people know that I lived in California for the 10 years of my adult life, entering my adulthood. And those 2 points are really important because every time that I come back to California, ever since I moved, I have one place that makes me feel completely like I'm at home. And that is because they combine my love of so many different worlds: automotive, motorsports culture, fashion, coffee, cars, and most importantly, art, okay? And today, I'm really excited because we are sitting in that exact place, and that exact place is called Race Service. It's in Los Angeles, California. And I'm really excited to be here with one of the founders of Race Service. So, before we get too deep into this, and I keep yapping, let me play the intro music for you. You're tuning into URL versus IRL, hosted by Bree Lynch. Jacob, welcome to URL versus IRL.
Hey,
Are you
good to
excited
have
to
you,
be here?
Bree. Yeah, I didn't even know what this was all about, but I love the little intro, and I love to have you back here at Race Service.
Yeah, dude, I'm so happy to be here. I feel like every time that I come into town, I try my best to make it over here, no matter what, because I always just feel so at home here. You guys are always so welcoming and always just like so happy to have me here, and everybody always gets excited that I'm back in town.
Well, no, I mean, that's great, and we kind of created this space, 6 years ago now to be that sort of meeting spot, to be that collaborative space. Like, we kind of had this vision of a hub and that people would come here and meet and collaborate, and it's been exactly that. But we've, even just like kind of to the 100th degree and building like such a strong team here, but then having all this like extended Race Service friends and family who do feel at home here, and they dip in for a day, an afternoon, or to meet a friend or whatever. So like, yeah, it's great. And we, the door is always open. If we're here, come on in. And yeah, you've been one of the earliest supporters. I feel like you were coming to some of the first original events that we were doing here when we were really just scrapping it together and kind of figuring it out. I can't remember. What was your first time coming here?
Oh my God. I feel like maybe like
Was
2000.
it a Colette event or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah. Colette introduced me to you over text message. Like she
Really?
was like,
Yeah.
you
I
need to
feel
know
like
Jacob.
Colette invited you to one of her events that she was doing here
Yes.
with us.
Yeah.
And then we hit it off.
Yeah, she hit me up and put you and I in a group chat originally and was like, hey, I need you to like meet my friend Bree. And I was like, okay, great, sounds good. And I was like really excited to like make the connection and everything. And then I came here and you guys seemed like you had everything together. So to hear that I was one of the early people is like wild.
No, that was early. I mean, I don't know. We were definitely sort of like scrapping it together and testing the theory and kind of like creeping up on the vision. I think now we are in the midst of the vision happening. We've been able to kind of execute on some of the bigger ideas that we had back then, even just building out more parts of the space like we are in here in the AMG room, and kind of taking areas that were either like crazy mess of storage or Turk's garage and gym, or a fab shop, which was right here, and now we've remade them into sort of like stylistic garages to sort of do activations and partner content and all of that. So
Wow. Well, before we dig too deep in, can you tell me what your favorite moment with Race Service has been so far? I know you guys have had a lot of really big ones, but if you can like kind of paint a little picture and tell us a story, I think that'd be a cool way to introduce Race Service.
Yeah, I mean, Race Service is something that like a lot of people find hard to describe. At the core of it, you could say it's a creative agency. In the more spiritual level, it's a collective of creatives who are trying to, change motorsports and update it for the future, and really cross car culture with pop culture, art, music, fashion, et cetera. So that's what we are. Like the moments that I, thought like kind of think of that were like maybe the most special, or I don't know, maybe most like, kind of life-changing. There was some moments when we were doing, production projects with Formula One, and we were on the grid with all 20 drivers with this 9-minute crazy deadline of capturing this content moment. It's all the drivers at once, and there's a helicopter above us shooting. There's a million people, and we just looked around and we're like, whoa, what are we, we were doing this on the Formula Drift grid 10 years ago, and now we're doing it on the Formula One grid, and it was a real oh wow, we're doing it. So I think that was great. And then even just as last week, we put on the first of hopefully many of our own events, which was called Tutto Bene, which was like a hill climb kind of special car event in Italy that we just did. And we did it very kind of under the radar, and we kind of didn't announce it. And it was kind of, if you know, and a sort of a small group of people in Europe. And then we brought over some people from LA, but we put on this pretty magical event, and just watching that and kind of looking at what the future of race service is, which is kind of our own events. And instead of just doing it with partners or for partners, we'll be doing our own events, and partners can get involved with it. So we are kind of, kind of preparing for the next edition of what race service is, which will be a lot more owned events and special race service, kind of like the stuff that you've come and done here, but we're going to take them out across the globe and do them.
That's crazy, dude. Italy is wild.
I know.
Italy's
You'll have
wild.
to come next year.
I would love to. I would absolutely love to.
It was cool. It was this crazy road that we could shut down for 4 days that was like 7 kilometers, crazy twisties, hairpins.
Shut up.
Like insane road that we had like 50 crazy cars there, like a Maserati MC12, like all these cool Italian cars. But yeah, everyone just ripped the road all day long. So.
Oh my God, that's crazy. You're one of my first automotive people to have on the podcast.
Really?
Yeah, I was nervous coming into this because I was like,
mixing worlds.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited to mix my two universe. I feel like, but also I was just I felt like that was such a big jump for me to go from no automotive people on the podcast yet to I was like, okay, one of the founders of Race Service.
Well, I guess I'm honored because I'm happy to be part of your car fam.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I guess Race Service, hopefully as far as car stuff goes, we like to dabble in a little bit of everything. So we aren't too hardcore focused on just cars.
That's what I love about you guys so much.
It's important. It's obviously a critical part of it. Mm-hmm. But we love actually the people who don't know anything about cars, who have either become a part of the family and actually work here. We have a lot more people who don't know anything about cars working here than probably the public assumes. And I think there's people who met us at the beginning who it was kind of a group of car guys getting together doing it. And now we've expanded, and we have so many more women on the team and different people who were never into cars, and now that's all mixing, and it's a beautiful thing. So from even when we first started, which was kind of 5 buddies getting together and kind of doing something. I was going to ask you to
tell us that story. How did Race Service start?
Yeah, the ultimate start was that my partner James Kirkham, we've been kind of best friends for over a decade, and kind of always looking for different things to work together on. When we originally met, where it was in North Carolina doing NASCAR stuff, he was chasing the NASCAR dream. I was working for my dad's agency. Then I moved on. I went to a big sports agency called Wasserman. He went to GoPro. Still kind of trying to find ways to work together, but kind of moving through the industry. And then this opportunity came up to be kind of the originators, the employees 1 and 2 of Donut Media to build it. So James and I got together, we built Donut, kind of created the first 2 years of that becoming a thing, doing kind of the first $1 million in business, the first $1 million in followers, and then really started to realize that we wanted something a little different than just a YouTube channel, and kind of had this vision of this real life space that was a place where we could build cars, we could have parties, we could do stuff. So this idea of a space really became stuck in James and I's head. And then once we kind of hit this sort of breaking point with Donut of wanting to have a different vision, we said, okay, we're doing Race Service, and we found this is the second place that we even looked at in LA, and we just looked through a fence. It was super run down, but we were this looks good. Then we went to 4 or 5 of our friends who were also kind of doing their own little small production companies or whatever. There was, Andy who joined, who had his own production company, Ryan Davis, Sam, Nico, our artist. It was kind of 5 people who were kind of individually doing their own things that we sort of said, hey, we're doing this, jump on. we don't know how we're going to pull it off, but like we're going to create this new idea of a, automotive culture hub / agency / cool space that we could all hang out in. And we just like kind of we did one project that we were able to like stack this quick 40 grand that we were able to like put towards the down payment on the lease, like start the little build out on it. Like we had to halfway like lie on our applications because they didn't believe us that we had enough money.
You're gonna be able to do it.
Yeah, and like a bunch of stuff. I had to like landlord didn't want to give us the lease, like all this stuff, and we just kind of pieced it together and we created Race Service. And by like after year one, it was like a lot of hard work of just like building the space and making it what it is. And then we got to work and we got a bunch of clients and so started kind of cranking. But we created what we thought was needed as like a new version of an agency that was catering towards motorsports and car culture, because there's a handful of players in the space. There's a handful of like big kind of dinosaurs when it comes to agencies. And we saw that there was space for us to come in and be a little bit different and still have that high level strategic kind of approach, but really be ingrained into the culture so that we're speaking from an authentic voice instead of like trying to be a fake advertising agency. You've worked in the advertising agency, you've been on a million different commercials, them trying to do car stuff and it's terrible. Like we wanted to be that authentic, kind of verified creative agency that can help car companies do cool stuff. So that was like kind of original part of it. And then we always had the goal of like changing motorsports. So we were like,
you guys are absolutely pushing the boundaries of motorsports.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You guys are very innovative.
Yeah, and then that came from us loving motorsports growing up. I grew up in motorsports. My dad did it. My grandpa did it.
Okay.
Long line of kind of motorsports business. Doing all kinds of stuff, promoting events, owning race cars that won the Indy 500 in the 50s and 60s. Like my grandpa did all kinds of cool stuff. Put on events with Evel Knievel. Evel Knievel's first events were with my grandpa. So
Shut up,
there's like a long like history of like putting on cool stuff and doing cool events. So that is always inspires what we do here. But we started like even just with Daniel Riccardo, who was like one of our earliest supporters of Race Service, one of our good friends, and he was here on some of the first days choosing the colors of the buildings with us, and we were able to do cool creative projects like design his helmets for a few years with Nico, Ornamental Conifer. We've helped him do some like apparel lines kind of at the beginning of when he started his clothing brand Enchante. So we've been able to do a lot of cool creative projects with him. He's always been a great friend, supporter, but we always knew that like we want to help drivers or any athletes, but we prefer drivers right now. Kind of build their brand, create awesome content, produce like great apparel. Like that's something that is, always a passion point for us. But right now we get the opportunity to do that for Charles Leclerc, and that's what kind of grew into doing that. So like, doing that for Daniel kind of like prepared us to, to kind of do that as like a real profession. And
you guys, Race Service is completely active right
very
now.
active. People keep walking in and out of our room.
We got people everywhere.
We chose to do it in a room that there's often people coming in and out of, but that's all right. It's all right. But anyways, able to do that stuff, like what we learned and what we did with Daniel led to like us getting the opportunity to do this now with Charles Leclerc. So we're doing brand strategy, social content, managing his YouTube channel. It's all these like great opportunities, and for us, we feel like that's a meaningful way to change motorsports. We're helping drivers create their own brands, their own longevity past their careers. They're able to control the messaging around them and around their brand if they have a clever social program. They're able to service their partners better by having a strong social program and a healthy YouTube that they can put out content. So we think it's part of the ecosystem to grow what a driver is and how they can create longevity in the after years of their career, while giving the fans like a very intimate, connection to them during their heyday. And so that's the type of stuff that we've been applying with Charles, and it's been working. So that's a part of our business that's also really interesting, which is like brand strategy. And it's very much different from the cars or throwing parties or doing cars and coffee, but it's kind of the behind the scenes work that we're doing that only kind of the people, if you know, and we're doing that.
You know, what's so crazy is so many people, like, when I lived in California, thought the race service was, like, invite only. And I was like, they host, like, private events. So you can just go. Like, why would they post it on their Instagram if not? And it's not like you guys are, like, posting it late so people can't find out about it. But one thing that I do love about race service so much is I feel like you guys are really, like, through and through designers, because you guys are really helping your athletes, the drivers, and everything like that, like you said, kind of design their brand and figure out how to, like, interact with their fans in a really authentic way, but you're allowing them to still be hands-on, so it's intimate. Because there's like a lot of agencies that just completely take over and the person doesn't even have a control of like their Instagram anymore, and like they're not, you know what I mean, like that kind of thing. So it's really nice that you guys are doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think it's cool. I mean, I guess at the core of race service, we are lovers of design and like, you know, art and typography and all of these, you know, sort of design elements are such an important part of what we are. It's from everything
obvious.
that we design. And it comes from, you know, Nico, ornamental conifer. It also comes from James. It comes from, you know, our design team that's like constantly putting that aspect at the forefront of anything we do, even if it's like a flyer. Like you'd be amazed at how much time we waste on creating flyers or like the dumbest things. And we're just like having like super high level designers and people like commenting, going back and forth, all on like a flyer for an Instagram ad. But it's like that
it's
stuff
going to be up for like 3 days.
Yeah, it's going to be up, and we're going to archive it. And we're like, but we really care. We really care about the details. Like it's so important that everything is cohesive. Like that's just a part of our brand ethos here at Race Service that I think has like allowed us to sort of stand out or to be
I was
noticed.
going to say that absolutely separates you guys from so many of these other people trying to do a similar thing, or like some of the other like agencies or even like car clubs, if you're going to call them a car club, that it doesn't matter. Like you can tell that they threw something together and like unfold really quick. That's what I do. A lot of times they like throw it together on unfold, and I try my best, but like it's
well, and it's not easy, and without the resources, it's not like we do invest in ourselves or we invest on having creative people around here because we think that that's so important. It's actually like a role that's rarely even covered on a line item on productions and stuff like that, but like to us it's so important, and we always throw in max creative effort into anything that we do. But like, you know, typography and like logo design and even colorways, all that is very much thought about and calculated, but somewhat organic at the same time. Like things just kind of come together, but we just make sure that we never are doing something half-ass. Like we always say, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right, and we never want to come and do something kind of halfway.
Wow. How many people do you guys have on the team now?
There's like probably 35 full-time people now, which is crazy. And probably when you first started coming here, there was like 7.
I was going to say there was like 6 or 7,
just like friends and a couple free interns, and that was it. And now those free interns are actually some of our highest level creative directors who are killing it and doing campaigns for Harley Davidson and Ferrari and all kinds of stuff. Dude. So it started with a couple friends, and now it's up to 35. We have 2 full-time in Europe and a handful of like great sort of freelance creators based in Europe. But then here at headquarters in LA, probably about 30 something.
Wow.
And yeah, kind of ranging. We also have like our brand, which is like putting effort towards our own sort of apparel line, which we do a lot of collabs with brands like Michelin and Red Bull and Heineken. We've done one with Porsche, AMG. So we're doing a lot of like kind of these automotive focused kind of collaboration capsules, and then our own line. So we do have like a small team that's built around that. But yeah, I mean, we have a problem that if we like find somebody and we like them and we think they're talented, we just hire them. But
bring them right in.
Just bring them right in. But you know, there's such a like most production companies, and we don't ever describe ourselves as a production company because it's so not what we are, but they have like 3, 4, maybe executive producers, and then they just go get the right line producer, and then they get the right DP, and they get the director, and they build their teams for projects. That's the old school way. That's like the tried and true Hollywood way.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't like that. We wanted to build from within. We wanted to get 17-year-old kids, 18-year-old kids who are dropping out of college and had like a broken camera and wanted to learn, and now they're literally leading campaigns for the biggest brands in the world. So we wanted to build within and like teach them the new way of doing it. So we ended up just finding cool young creators, whoever who came here, and we just kind of kept hiring, and then before we knew it, it was
30 people,
30-something people, and it's pretty crazy. So
that's crazy.
But we love everybody who's on our team, and we also like, it's important that, we have clients that specifically are like, I want that creator on the team. Oh, Gabe's not going to be there for that production. Oh, I'm bummed. Or like, so like our creators are as much of a selling item as our best biz dev, people, like actually our creators being so special and clued in, and they care about the client that they actually get us more business. So like,
that's crazy.
Building our team is not an accident. Like, we want to build a team. It's not like probably the smartest business strategy, but we know that having a special team that you can't replicate, like we feel that there's some magic dust that you get when you're here. You can't really leave with it. Like you have to be with the team, and it's like the team makes each other stronger. It's a very positive atmosphere. Everybody's supporting each other. It's kind of like a skate team where you're individually landing your own tricks. You're performing. You want to do a little better than someone else, but you also want them to do well. You cheer each other on when you land a trick. People take on different challenges. So we want that attitude. It's high performance. There's definitely no slacking, but also, if you believe in the vision and you're treated well, I think by the leaders of a company, like the potential is insane of what these young creators can do. And we're showing it by like having such a great group of people who are like ready to go full on to kind of share the race service way. But it's, we're very lucky to have the team that we do.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, the content that you guys create is incredible. And speaking of content, this is an internet versus reality podcast. So
what does that even mean? I still don't even know. What is the internet versus reality?
So I feel like the relationship that a lot of people have with the internet now is so like peaks and valleys, up and down, because the internet's not going anywhere. And I feel like it's a conversation that's not had often enough, because we're so used to seeing this like polished, finished version of everything online that like it's really hard for us to remember that that's not always the reality of the situation.
Right.
That like, it takes a lot.
You're only showing the good times and all of that. And we're all like guilty of it.
I was going to ask, how's your relationship with the internet?
Yeah, my relationship with the internet is not too bad. Like, I kind of hate social media in a way.
Okay.
But
I think most of us do, and we're starting to realize that trend on this podcast.
Yeah, it is. Like, I think I do hate social media. I hate a lot of the toxic aspects of it. There's a few parts that I really enjoy, like global connectivity, I think is super important. I've built a really great wide network of super cool friends all across the world that you just send a little, hey, like sick, fire emoji, good job on that photo.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a cool video you just made. And it's made lifelong friends. It's made clients. It's made creators who work for us. Now in Europe, it's all based on like just being internet friends with people. So I do believe in that.
Crazy,
from
dude.
Like a networking standpoint and just staying in touch with people. I've literally watched kids or people like have kids and raise them till 5 years old. I've never even met them, but I'm happy for them. And that's a positive part of like the internet. Like the other side is trying to keep up with the Joneses and faking it and all that. I feel like I just don't pay attention to it, or like I'm smart enough not to care. I post stuff that's either family stuff because I like to make memories and I like to like kind of capture around my kids, and then I like to showcase what we're doing at work or highlight some team members or a great photo set from our creators or project that we're doing. So I'm on it. I use it to spread kind of the projects that we're doing, a little behind the scenes action, and then some family chill stuff. So I'm on it, but I would be happy if they turned it off tomorrow. But then our jobs would change. I mean,
a lot. Yeah.
Our agency is based on social content for sure.
Yeah.
but who cares? Shut it off, and then we'll find
Figure
something
it
else.
out.
Well,
Yeah.
we love live events. We love getting people here. So like, to be honest, I don't care. Like, if the internet didn't work anymore and we still had to just get like
you guys would
1,000
get people here anyway.
yeah, we'd figure it out. I mean, we'd have fun without the internet. But yeah, global connector. I believe in it. I use it. I do like keeping track of what's going on, trends, cool cars, what other people are doing for events. I like to pay attention and be knowledgeable. It helps us think of how to progress, how to do something different. I feel like I'm the type of person who've always, like, people will bring up ideas. I'm like, nah, these guys already did it. They already did it. They already did it. Because I do like
crazy.
to pay attention, and I'd never want to do something that's already been done
before, yeah.
And so I do pay attention to what is happening out there passively. Like, I'm but again, there's so many toxic parts of it. I know how hard it is from like an athlete perspective. Now it's expected, and you can't get sponsors without it. Before it wasn't required. You just needed to get good results on the track.
Yeah.
Even working with all like the pro drift guys like Ryan Turk and Von Gittin Jr. and Chris Forsberg, like those guys were all sort of early adopters to creating content and getting followers. And luckily they had a leg up because all the other drivers were like, we aren't doing that. So I was a part of that at the time. I was selling sponsors for them, and I remember the first days when we were like, doesn't matter what your results are on the track, you have 250,000 followers on Instagram. Hey, we put out YouTube videos, get 1 million views, and sponsorships started to happen because of that. So then it became a currency, especially for non-traditional motorsports people. So then social media was like a drug that you needed. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, I have to put so much effort. I'm putting as much effort into making content and managing my social as I am in like building my race team.
Yeah.
And
yeah, dude.
It's a tough thing, but it's important. You got to do both. I kind of am like,
I feel like you literally read my notebook before, because I had so many like little blurbs written out that I was like, I want to hit this point, and you're hitting all of them without me even saying
well, I mean,
which is wild.
So it's our world, but it is tough. Like your position, whatever, Colette Davis, her boyfriend, Adam LZ, who's made quite like a great empire out of YouTube and social. So it's possible.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
And then at the same time, you see sort of the crumbling of some giants like Hoonigan or Donut, where because of acquisitions and trying to go too big, maybe losing some creative leadership, all of a sudden those big things start to tumble. But it's always going to be changing. We try to stay very just stick to our guns on doing it the way we want with the right aesthetic. And we even are trying to do a little bit more of our own content, kind of keep up on a YouTube page, not super consistent, but trying to do some stuff, at least chronicling all we're doing around this AMG project, kind of just more like capturing to make sure that we just have it there. Yeah. But it's really made us rethink of like, okay, we've helped 1 million other channels build. We've been a part of channels that have built up to being, sold for $40 million. We've we've watched things that went from 0 to 6 million, and we're wondering like what's next, what it is. But it did give us a little bit of a kind of a kick in the butt to sort of focus on some stuff for ourselves. We do so much client work, we enjoy it and we love it, but sometimes it makes us we're like on a hamster wheel just chasing 15-second reels.
Yeah, dude. Like, also, especially when you're like a storyteller, first of all, I think the fact that you guys have such a niche like little group of people that it's so tight, I think that's why you guys are as successful as you are, because I was actually just talking to Josh about this earlier, my boyfriend, and I was like telling him, he's like, I feel like the production companies are never like, they never are organized, they don't have anything. It's because they asked me to do a fitting today. Yeah. And I got lucky that they were 15 minutes down the street. And I was like, I don't have time for that today. Yeah. Like, I was like, I need to be here at 3:30. And then I got lucky that they were 12 minutes away at Culver Studios. That's nice. I was like saying that like the big production companies, there's just too many people to keep everything under wraps and to keep everything like nice and organized and have a cohesiveness. But I think that because you guys have such like a tight group of people, I feel like that's really what is helping you a lot. I mean, obviously you guys are great leaders and you guys know what you want and you have a good vision, but I think the fact that you're able to communicate with the people that you're working with and you have your team of people that are here all the time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Even if it's not all the time, but like they're consistent though.
And I think that you're right. And and thanks for that. And we've been able to work with you on pretty cool productions, like big Hot Wheels one with Jay Leno. And those were ones that we really had to beef up because we're doing like crazy live stream and we had stuff. So that was even managing like 20 or more outside subcontractors, which is also tricky. But then we had our core team there that you're comfortable with, you've done stuff with. You have Jared Deanda there as like a host carrying it along that we work with on a day-to-day basis. So there is something about having that familiarity and creating that with even the people within our industry. And there's a lot of reoccurring work with a lot of the same characters. So I do think that there's something to people feeling comfortable and there being like a reoccurring group of people. So I like that. I mean, production's crazy too. If you're doing big commercials and stuff like that, there are a million things. Like we like that sort of smaller, like top end of the small size of shoots. We've scaled, we could scale up to 30, 50 person shoots and stunt coordinators and crazy insurance and fire breathing, whatever. Like we've done those and they are pretty sweet. But like also we like just 4 or 5 people running around with the talent creating like elevated vlog content. That's like some of the most fun, and we're just chilling and traveling and it's not a whole big thing. So, for us, productions, sometimes like more money, more problems when it comes to bigger productions. So that sweet spot, middle zone is something that we like being in.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that you mentioned earlier is that, the internet could go away tomorrow and then everything would change. Yeah. With the internet, how do you guys keep up? Like the algorithm is constantly changing. Things are constantly changing. As you said, you guys try to do things that other people haven't done before. And what's crazy about that statement is like so many people say that regularly. They're like, I'm trying to do something that's never been done before. But you guys are actually doing that. Like you guys are actually setting a baseline for everybody else. And then people still can't even reach the baseline because you guys are doing so well.
I mean, that's nice for you to say. Sometimes we're always like challenging ourselves. I mean, the thing is like the internet is always changing. And I think that the one thing that we chose to do is not to chase trends. And we aren't even sure if it's necessarily the right ideas. Our channels aren't like crazy insane, 100,000 on Instagram and this, but it's a little bit of more being influential in an industry. And like, last week we're talking to the head of vehicle dynamics for Mercedes-Benz AMG. Like that's
so
a pretty
casual for you.
At the Nürburgring, and him asking our legit opinions on super secret future stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, that's where I want to be, as influential in our industry. Yeah. Not worry so much about 1 million followers, but help other people take advantage of their 1 million followers, whether it's an athlete, a brand, media distribution, deal, collabs, whatever. So I don't think that we are the best at the internet. I think we're the best at making cool content that has a soul and has storytelling and still can fit within a 1-minute reel and still can be created in one day after a awesome event and come out with stuff that like shows it in a beautiful way. So I think premium content and all of that is something that we are experts at, like caring about the trends and doing it perfectly and getting updated on like which song on TikTok is great this week. Yeah,
it's trending,
We don't care too much. But we also have like some great young creators who are kind of paying attention to that.
They do care,
and help make it. And I'll be like, oh, this is a cool song. And then they're like, well, it's a trending song. I'm like, oh, well, that's lame, but I guess that's cool.
But whatever it works.
But whatever it works. So like, we have people who think about it, but we aren't like slaves to the algorithm. We care less about like what's changed and like, let's just make good stuff and put it out there. Yeah. And sometimes like it also has to do with brands. Like our number one part of our business is brands paying us to make content for them, and they make content for a lot different reasons than just to like, have a channel that they, they aren't YouTubers. Like if we're doing content for Heineken, it's very different, and they want specific things and how they're showing their product and how they're making sure that it's, kind of like legal age. Like there's like all these different things that we have to do for a brand. So it actually takes out like the internet
portion of that.
Yeah, like we're just like, hey, we're gonna make you your great content that represents your brand well, shows like your guests, adheres to all of these like legal things, like all
Yeah.
these kind of stuff. So like it is very different. Sometimes we don't care what the internet's doing. Where I think that if you're Colette or Miss Amelia or
Yeah.
you're like, what's going to work? What's going to get me more followers? Like, how is this going to work? And it's a stressful place to be in.
It sucks, especially because I try to have a similar mindset as you guys, except obviously I don't have as high of a following, but like I try my best to just do what I like and what I think is important, what I think is going to make a difference, and just do that and see if it works and see if it doesn't. And that's where URL versus IRL comes in. I feel like I spent so much time in the space of like caring about everything being perfect and like looking perfect on the internet. Like I was a part of the problem.
I kind of remember when
bit.
you had sort of had like a switch to being like, I just want to be authentic. And
Yes.
like, you know, I don't think you weren't being authentic before then, but I could probably see that you were like struggling with trying to like build what that perfect internet character is, which I think is sometimes like an unrealistic challenge, and who gives a shit anyways.
Yes.
Like, but I like your character because it is authentic. This is the stuff I like. There is cars. There is this like internet culture. There is you know, other things. So it's like, I don't know. I always believe in like do your own thing, and the right people will be drawn to you.
Yeah.
The thing that seems to work on the internet is definitely consistency. Like,
Yes.
no matter what, there's been people who I don't necessarily think are the most talented or most interesting or most anything, and they're like, every week I did this, and it's 1,000 weeks, and it fucking worked. So, you know, like,
man.
I don't know, and I like when somebody sticks to sort of like a thing and they do it, I think that the internet can reward them, but. You know, you just have to be like true and honest with yourself and what it is. And like, I've gotten to a place where like, I don't want to be that cranky person. Like, if it's not for me, it's not for me. Like, who cares? Who am I to tell somebody that they should be doing it differently? So I definitely have gotten to a place where I'm like, everyone should just do what they want on their internet and their channels.
Yeah.
And I rarely like would unfollow somebody unless they're just like crazy, annoying or something.
Unless they're doing way too much.
They're just like too much. But no, like, I don't know. I just feel everyone should do what they want.
Dude, people are so sensitive on the internet. Like, sometimes I'll check and I'm like, oh, look at that. I lost like 10, 20 followers for like literally no reason. What did I do? Not post today? Or like I didn't, you know, whatever. It's ridiculous. Going back to the motorsports conversation that we were kind of having a little bit earlier, do you feel like the internet is, obviously it's changing motorsports. You guys are changing motorsports, but do you feel like the internet is opening the door for motorsports, or do you feel like it's kind of like closing it and making it even more?
No, it's definitely created a community. Like, I think that there's a lot of very hungry new motorsports fans, and the only place that they are finding information about this is through Instagram and TikTok. So like, there's no doubt there's everything from like, you know, the F1 Drive to Survive, like F1 girlies and sort of fan culture, which I think is like awesome and super valuable, probably undervalued by the biggest, you know, by the big brands out there, that there's like this whole kind of internet-y culture around motorsports and liking other aspects of it. So like, I definitely see that. I know it's valuable. You know, like, we don't necessarily tap into it or like interact, you know, too much within that like fan community, but we know that managing, you know, Charles's social channels and stuff, that there's like an amazing, super active fan base out there, and it's mostly based on internet learnings. It's not just people who are showing up at races and watching Sky TV or ESPN. It's people who are getting their information from TikTok, from other creators. So I think it's definitely helped motorsports. You know, I just think that, you know, sharing of clips and like parts of races going viral from highlights and stuff like that is also very valuable, because I think it's hard to get people to watch motorsports for 4 hours or even 2 hours. But you could definitely watch a 1 minute reel that has all the sickest clips from the race, and you might share that and say, oh, wow, what an awesome win by Charles Leclerc at Monaco, because I've watched the highlights and I'm enjoying it because of that, instead of, you know, me who woke up at 6 a.m. to watch it, you know, the whole thing every lap. So I think that that's a big thing, is how people consume motorsports is changing because of the internet.
Yeah. And, you know, the athlete expectation, do you feel like that's becoming... Is it becoming harder for the athletes, or do you think it's becoming like a little easier because now, like you said, they don't even have to be on a podium because they have however many Instagram followers? And
I think some people has completely benefited them, and they've created an amazing motorsports life based on content and social media. I think that, like, you know, Ken Block was the master of it, RIP, of creating a motorsports program based on epic videos with tons of views and a strong social plan and a nice cohesive design package, all those things. Always use him as an inspiration. We have a picture of him back there that we use as an inspiration. So I think it's definitely worked. It's worked for my friend Von Gittin Jr. It's worked for Ryan Turk. It's worked for Adam LZ. It's worked for Colette. Like, I've seen it work for really great people, but I know each one of those people, and they work their asses off.
Yes.
So much more than anybody would ever believe.
Yeah.
So, yes, internet helped them do it, but it was a lot of, like, true grit and getting there and just being creative and doing it. Now, I think that if you're at a certain level of motorsports and you're making enough money, it's an important part that you should spend the money to build a little team to do it, whether it's getting your one homie with a camera to start coming to races and grow from there, or however. But it's very important, I think, even just to document people's lives, even to just document, maybe it's the future Last Dance documentary that you're trying to make for yourself. But like, you should be kind of documenting your life, and it does suck and take a lot of effort. But like, if you start making enough money, you should start paying somebody to help make content and build a channel around you, because you own that. Like, no matter what sponsor leaves you, what team fires you, whatever happens, if you own your own kind of content stream, like you can kind of create a business out of it. But.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel like, I guess, influencers also obviously are entering the motorsports world? They've been here for a little bit. Do you feel like them entering the motorsports world, do you feel like it's like a positive thing or a negative thing, or kind of both?
I think it's positive. It brings tons of good attention. I don't really know, like, I think people who kind of like to, like, you know, yell at the clouds and think that, like, traditional this, like, look, if someone's like, one, it's not even about competition now. It's like going to the track and having fun.
Yeah,
so like,
that's
if you're looking at drifting or track days, who cares? Bring as many influencers as possible. Like, and if you're talking about traditional motorsports, well, I guess they have to qualify to be there. So like, if they're good enough to be in FD, like Adam LZ, then awesome. But you know, probably if you wanted to go qualify for a NASCAR race, like, it's not happening. So you know, so it's like, it depends on different disciplines, different competition. I think it's great. Any attention towards motorsports is great. I'm happy that we're in a bit of a golden era. I'm happy that F1 is as booming as it is. I'm happy that NASCAR is doing cool stuff. Like, I like where we're at with motorsports, and like, if influencers want to come and be a part of it, like, sweet. Like, and you know, I like people who make good content and tell good stories. It doesn't matter who they are. That word influencer can be considered like a bad word now, or considered cheesy. But hey, if they're making cool stuff and they're bringing positive attention towards whatever it is, motorsports or car culture, like, great. I think bring it.
Good. I feel like you're like one of the few people that I've had on this podcast that's not like, oh, the internet sucks and like, this is horrible. You know what I mean? But that's another part of the reason why I wanted to bring you on to here, because I was like, the internet has helped you guys like create this whole thing that you have now. Obviously, like, you guys are extremely talented, as I've said many times, but I feel like I would have never known about race services if it wasn't for the internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like it's a part of life now. There's no escaping it. It's like, it's impossible to. So try to find some of the positive aspects of it. Don't get sucked into the toxic parts of it. Use it as a global connector and making true friendships and like sending positive messages. Dude, I spend half of my day, I'm busy. I have like a million emails. I spend half of my day literally like sending thumbs ups, and like, when I see creators doing stuff and I think it's good, if I like see somebody I know who worked hard on a project, like, those little things do make a difference. And I like when I get them, I do that. Like, I think it's important to send out positive messages of affirmation to people who you know are working hard. I think there's a lot of people who just look at the internet and they're just like mad or jealous, or like, why am I not doing that? Or how do you get that? And I'll fall into that. I'll FOMO, or say, oh, dude, I wish I was on that project or whatever. But if you actually just start thinking about it, there's enough for everybody. If you work hard, you're going to get yours, and send out positive affirmations to everybody else in the industry who's working hard. And that's a positive part of the internet. Like, you know, but.
And you have to work for it. Like, it doesn't always happen overnight. It's not always just because of a viral video that something's going to happen for everybody. For some people, it's more of like a slow build.
Yeah, I think that the only thing that's in common with everyone I know who's built quite a business out of the internet has worked really, really hard for it. Like there is nobody who I was like, man, you literally just instant success this thing.
Well,
like
when you do become like an instant success, it goes away just as fast if you don't know how to
if you don't know how to
it.
maintain it,
Yes.
and if you let it get to your head, and if you like, like I don't know, I'm sure there's a lot more people who know like a lot more influencers who have had like some rise and fall, but like as far as like car people who have made it, and like they're like a good person, that they worked hard to get there, and you saw the hustle along the way, like there is that they earned it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys film a lot of content, obviously, and you guys make great content. Do you prefer doing social content over like the big professional shoots, or do you feel like
we don't even have that many opportunities to do those like big stuff? Like we've never necessarily done, I think we've done some stuff that have ended up being like on TV or like as a TV commercial.
That's
but
crazy because the shit that you guys are making should be like in comparison to some of the stuff
I
that
know,
we're getting
but
right now.
we're made for the internet. I don't know. We always have been. Like we sort of have aspirations, but like again, we are super ADD. We like absolutely like doing a project and moving on from a project and like editing it the next day and like being done with it and then like off to the next. Cause like, I don't know. I don't want to do a documentary for like 10 years where you're like editing like the same like 3 scenes for like a week. Like,
well, also you become like uninspired that way. Like I notice the longer that it takes for me to edit something, the less excited I am to edit it. You know, like for me, like I'm like, especially even with the podcast, like I'm on it like the next day if I can be.
Turn and burn. That's like what we're all about. So I think we are a little bit like built for the internet. We're bred out of the internet. We like doing stuff and turning it around. We like not overthinking stuff. Like most of our projects, I'd say like 80%, a client comes to us and is like, hey, this very important thing is happening in like 2.5 weeks. We need you to save us. And we do it. And we're like happy to like, short runway, little bit of pre-pro, show up, like, kind of like special forces style, show up, handle some biz, edit it like 2 days later, put it out on the internet. Everyone likes it.
That's crazy to know how fast you guys turn stuff around, because it looks like on the internet, it looks like you guys are such perfectionists and like so meticulous, but like I feel like that goes into how you guys are shooting, and probably like the pre-planning.
It's part of the special forces thing is like the people that we have shooting are like incredible, like what they're capturing, like all of that. So it's like, but we're just very dedicated to like super premium content, and even with a super quick turnaround, like don't compromise. And I think you have more time, you get to polish it, you get more color, you get like all this stuff that you get to do. And we like a little bit of breathing room, but also like we're just like we like running, we do feel that we are a race car here, and everybody's like parts of this race car, and race cars like don't run well if they're sitting or idling or whatever. And so like we want to be like run, like we think the engine here needs to be constantly, at high revs for us to perform in the optimal range. But that's like our mentality. And we love doing it that way. But again, like, sometimes I think that if we could do a TV show, we would love that. And that would take longer. And if we did a concept that was whatever, a Netflix show or something, like, I think we have some aspirations of that. Like,
you guys need a reality TV show of just race service itself. Like you guys doing all the things that you're doing, because there's always so much going on.
People have said that. We are coming out with a YouTube show very soon.
I can't wait to watch that.
The little bit of the antics that go on here. So it's just called the RS Courtyard, and it's just everything that happens in this courtyard and stuff. So we've been having actually our 2 youngest creators, who are like our 2 newest add-ons. They're hosting it and doing it. It's very Gen Z, and it's very much like we're like, is this cool? Well, fuck it, let's just do it. But
see how it goes.
So we do have some content coming out that will show a little bit of what goes on behind the scenes here, because a lot of people have asked, and we think it'll be fun. But reality show, I don't know. It's funny because like people do think that we're like, maybe like super calculated, and that we like do all this stuff. And like, if people only understood the stuff that's not captured and like how much is like actually going on, but like we don't even have time to like talk about it or do it, or like whatever is crazy. Like we do talk about the stuff that we like, and we're allowed to. There's some stuff that we aren't even allowed to talk about.
NDAs.
That we're spending just crazy amounts of energy and time that goes into it. And kind of the people who know, I saw that.
I was like, this car that's sitting right here. They can't see it right now. I'll have to show you guys later, but
I mean, like this big project with AMG, like and there's so much that went into it, and we try to capture as much as we can, but sometimes we just like get caught up in it, and we don't even like it's like those crazy weekends or nights, and you're like, it was a good night because I didn't capture any photos, or I have no photos in my phone. Sometimes us as a content agency do that. We're like, it was so great. Did anyone capture anything? Nah.
No.
Fuck it. Yeah.
That's crazy to hear from Race Service. What's crazy to me is actually the fact that you didn't say that, like, this was the car that you guys dropped from the roof, right? Or from the
we
from the
craned
crane,
up to
right?
the roof of the Roosevelt.
How did you not fucking tell that story?
We told it. It's on our YouTube. We have some good stuff. We have some BTS. So like we told it, but like, again, like we're just kind of like doing these big moments, and we are starting to try to like kind of memorialize some of these things that we're doing by putting out some YouTube episodes. So like our channel's just like super fresh. It had just like some old random stuff on it and was dormant, and now we've sort of just like revived it, put out some stuff around the AMG. We're going to put some of this sort of like young creator sort of fun content on there. And like, again, it's more of a test to ourselves of like, let's start chronicling some of the things that we're doing, especially as they move away from just being client projects to true partnerships, which is what the AMG thing was, as a Race Service AMG collab project, where many of the other things have been, Hot Wheels has hired Race Service to go do this thing for them, and we love it, and we're super appreciative, and we go kill it. But this like, brand plus Race Service is what's the most exciting to us. So anything that we do around that, we will start creating content around it and focusing on that. And that's our own events also. Like we want to own events. We want to do our thing, our style, and then allow brands and people and partners and collaborators to come in and be a part of it.
Yeah, so you guys can start it instead of them starting it and you guys adding to it.
We can kind of form. Yeah, exactly. We often sort of say with a lot of clients, like, hey, like try to hit us up earlier so we can help you choose the ingredients at the supermarket.
Yes.
Instead of like giving us this like half-baked pie that's like not good. And like we need to like add a bunch of stuff to it. But like, again, that like those challenges are also fun sometimes, or sometimes it's nice to be in a box and be like, okay, hey, this is the ingredients. Let's make this as good as we can get. It's like chopped or something, but but we like to be a part of like we're choosing all the ingredients, and we know that with clients it's not always that easy. They have like whatever, like corporate brand guidelines and this and corporate strategies that were put into place a year before, and partnerships. So we know it's not always possible to just do it 100% the Race Service way when we're doing whatever, a big Heineken project or whatever. But we know that if we create projects and events in our vision, it can be a place where those brands come and play and sponsor and be a part of it. But it's just a little bit of a shift in our perspective, and also just having a little bit of like the time and the resources, and now like a big enough team that we can go chase some of these ideas that we've had, whether it's some after parties at F1 races or like car events in Italy, or more coffee stuff like we're doing.
We're bringing a car in from a crane.
Yeah, we're doing an AMG project where we crane the car to a rooftop of a Hollywood hotel. Like,
can you give us the Cliff Notes version of that? Like, how long did it take you guys for like prep the car, all that other kind of stuff, and how did you come up with that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of the credit obviously goes to James, my partner, who's like was kind of the face of it.
There he is
in this photo, I know, overlooking. But it was his kind of vision. We've been working with AMG for like years and years, but it was kind of on like a very, very much like they'd provide some cars, and they were just like a very cool, friendly partner. But they eventually kind of handed us off to the motorsports department, and the motorsports department said, hey, we have like this GT3 car. It's kind of coming to the end of its lifespan, but it is the most successful and most winning sports car chassis. It's a legendary AMG GT3 race car. What if we gave you guys one and you guys like made it cool or did some stuff with it? And we were like, okay,
make it cool. Here you go.
Here you go. And I mean, there's hundreds of these types of race cars out there, amazing GT3 cars, super, stout, killer builds that are racing all over the world. What does it look like to take it out of the racetrack, give it to Race Service, and like let us design it? So we created this whole campaign called the Raw Spec, which was all about stripping away all the materials and appreciating the raw materials, the raw motorsports materials, the carbon fiber, aluminum, titanium, and then adding stuff like jewelry gold to this. These are like actual 24 karat gold from Good Art, our friends who have an amazing jewelry company who are putting like replacing motorsports parts with gold, and like, you know, and at the same time having like, you know, carbon fiber, you know, pieces stripped back to like showcase some of things that have been coated or painted or whatever. So that was kind of the theme, the art theme of the whole car is kind of the anti-art car. So instead of like putting tons of stuff on it, we're taking stuff off of it. We still then put art and you know, kind of branding and stuff on it, but we did it all hand painted.
That's crazy, dude. You guys give such a crap about art, and I love that because I feel like nobody does anymore.
Yeah, I mean, art is so important to us. It's definitely like a part of the soul of race service. We have an art studio in the middle of race service that's constantly active with Nico painting stuff every day. So so it was all hand painted, and then we wanted to bring GT racing to culture. We wanted to do something very much in our backyard. We wanted something to be very much Hollywood. And we wanted to do it on the rooftop of the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel during this really cool art fair called the Felix Art Fair. So it's actually where they activate all the rooms as art galleries. And it's like a whole kind of week of cool art activities there. So that was like the perfect location. So we wanted the car on the roof. We wanted to do a helicopter, but FAA and a bunch of stuff. We were close. We were pretty close. We were working on it, but it was it became too much. We'll have to find the next location for that. But
a crane is still crazy.
Yeah, so the crane was
like,
cool.
Who the fuck does
we did
that?
a crane. We did the whole thing. We used a crane to pick up the car, to put it on our Unimog, and then drove the Unimog to the crane place and met up with the crane. Like, we just did all these like fun things to like make this a more ridiculous thing. Yeah. And then we captured a lot of it. A lot of it's on our YouTube. We put a ton out on Instagram, but it was just like a fun way of just really going outlandish and like, you know, getting this car up to the roof, and it looked amazing, and then had a killer party, and it really worked. Like, AMG was blown away, like the type of people that came, like the celebrities that came, like kind of like, you know, the who's who of like, you know, Hollywood. Like, it was just a really cool, amazing event, and it was very much race service, but also, you know, an amazing global brand like AMG trusted us to throw a cool night, and they loved it. And luckily we had a handful of their team there to enjoy it. But yeah, that was, you know, one of our proudest moments for sure, was having AMG race service together and then craning the car to a roof.
That's crazy. Do you feel like there's a ridiculous amount of pressure because of the kind of things that you guys create? I mean, obviously you guys create the pressure, and like I think that like so many other people, they feel like there's like this pressure of the level of content that they now need to create because of what's on the internet. But you guys, like, do you feel like you just have to keep getting better and better and constantly doing more?
Yeah, I think it's our own internal pressure, and like, you know, no pressure, no diamonds type of thing. But we like challenging ourselves. Like, we want to do things that people haven't done. So I don't know, it never really seems like a bad pressure. It seems like kind of a fun, you know, one up yourselves challenge. And like, we're never shy away from a challenge. And like, you know, I think that, I don't know, we just feel like it's our calling to do this type of stuff. It's missing. Yeah, it is. Motorsports needs it. There's a lot of bland stuff out there.
Yeah, well, you guys are bringing it. Well, that's for sure.
We love it. I mean, we are, you know, disciples of doing cool shit, and like, that's what we're here to do. And no matter how the car industry is changing, it's very important to make sure that like car culture is as strong as ever. And there was this moment where people are like, hey, kids don't like cars anymore. They all decided they're going to get picked up by, you know, automatic drones, you know, like there's just this moment where like the tech world was trying to say that like cars were done, and it was so wrong, and it was so false. And we were quickly showed there's never been a time where car culture is so healthy. There's tons of events happening every weekend, and yes, we're in LA, like the Mecca, but like all over the world, like I think car culture is as healthy as it's ever been. And even if like the propulsion method is going to change some people might like electric or not, or it's going to be a hybrid, it's going to be alternative fuels. Like, however that's going to change, like, I think that we're actually in one of the healthiest, coolest moments of car culture. So it's like, we're going to be there to keep pushing it forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel like with the events that you guys host, do you feel like that's influenced a lot by your online community, or do you feel like you're influencing them and you're pushing them to do more and better? Because I feel like a community is such a hard thing to have with an online following, because you feel like you have a community, but like it's not like real. Like it's not like a real person that you can give them a hug.
I don't feel that. Yeah. Like, and I really do appreciate, I think, our digital community, but like, to be honest, I don't feel super connected to them. But I think that because our channel is not like one person, it's not you, like it's not Bree saying, hey, what's up guys, follow the struggles and the celebrations of my life, which is great, but like people connect with that person, and then they're like, go do it. Like, I think with Race Service, they're like, oh, you guys do cool pictures, you know, like I don't know if people fully connect with like who we are, what we are, and I don't think we do a great job of building it as like a character so much, but we're trying to do that. And I want to put like light on our like really awesome creators and like our young people, not necessarily like just, you know, not really much at all the founders or what we're doing as sort of like, you know, building this company, but more of the creators. So yeah, I don't feel that connected to our online community. There's definitely like the handful of people who are always there being like fire emoji and great job, and we definitely appreciate that, but like we aren't doing those like AMAs and like staying up late being hey fam, I'm on the internet, who wants to ask me questions, which I see, I'm like, man, people are really killing it. Like I know people, I'm like, it took us 6 years to get 100,000 followers on Instagram, because we literally just like made it our super, you know, our super own critical, like perfection of a grid, like, you know, and that's not necessarily the thing to grow the channel, but it's what we like. Like we like looking at it as a lookbook. We like looking at it as a portfolio. We like looking back and saying, hey, we highlighted these projects we wanted, and we very carefully picked just the photos that we love about it, and we put it. And like, and we don't really repost stuff twice too much. Like if there's a good thing, we kind of blow it out for a few days and then we move on. So I don't think we're good at the internet, and I don't think that we're a character enough for people to really like love us. But then you come to our in-person events, and like we really have amazing, super supportive, like evangelists for Race Service who are out there trying to sell us to get more business, or out there like trying to hook us up with somebody because they think that they need our apparel. Like there's just so many people out there who are like really love us in real life, and that's like to me so much more valuable. And like I appreciate when like I see the love from the industry in real life, even if it's shared on the internet. But yeah, our digital community, super appreciate it. I love it. I'm glad there's 100,000. I don't know if they even...
Congrats, that's so big. That's awesome.
No, thanks. And it was a big moment, but I also thought it was kind of a joke that I'm like, is this an arbitrary milestone? Like, what does this even mean? We have 100,000 followers. It took 5.5 years to get there.
Yeah.
And then I watched some other random people like build 100,000 followers in like 2 months. It's just weird. So I just don't care about it. But I don't know. I'm definitely appreciative of
flooding people with reels and with all the other internet things, you know, and there's
multiple a day.
Their feeds are messy. You don't want that.
Yeah, yeah, they are. We like to just have it clean and look really good. But
I get even like, it's so funny. It's such a funny thing for me to like think about. But even with the podcast, like I try to upload like, you know, maybe 3 to 4 reels from each episode, and then I upload episodes like every week. So I'm like, I feel like I'm spamming people. Like I feel like it's too much.
But you're creating an outlet, and like it is a platform. That's kind of what it's for. But you know, I mean, people are like constantly on the internet, like constantly scrolling. So it's like you need to like fill that again. But
do you know what your screen time looks like?
I don't actually. It's probably not great. But I also like wake up really early, and then I'm like on my phone for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Before anybody in my house is woken up yet.
Yeah.
That screws my screen time big time.
Oh my God, I have such a weird... I downloaded this app called Opal the other day, and like it like teaches you about like your screen time, and it'll like disable certain apps for you for certain times of the day so you can get stuff done. And I had to turn mine on for the morning because I noticed that like I used to wake up... If I would wake up early, I would start scrolling, and then I would get nothing done.
I know. Everyone says it's like terrible. Like, don't touch your phone. I literally like grab my phone when I'm like
have to
wake
see
up
what
in the
time it
middle of the
is.
night. I'm like, oh wait, somebody wrote back to me. I better like look at it. And we also work with like our Europe team who are like constantly texting through the night. And then I'll wake up early and I'll be like, well, they are asking me some questions. I better like reply. But yeah, I think that interneting in the morning is definitely is bad, but I do it. But yeah, I don't know how my screen time is.
It's crazy.
Not great. Not terrible. I don't know.
I just started looking at mine the other day and I was like, okay, I have to like use this app at least to not scroll in the morning, because for me specifically, like I was like, if I scroll in the morning, I get nothing done. Suddenly it's like 3 o'clock and I'm like, oh, I haven't taken a shower yet. I'm like, damn. But that's just like a me thing. I think that like if I can get myself to wait until at least like 11 or 12 when I've done something, like for me specifically, I'm usually avoiding editing. So I'm like, if I can get myself to edit at least from like the time that I wake up until like 11, then I'm allowed to have a little break.
Oh, you have a more free flowing life schedule.
Yeah, literally a freelancer, basically.
Have some kids, and then I got like my own kids, and then I have the 32 kids here at Race Service who are waiting for me to get here, and then, so I'm here before them every single time anyways. But yeah, so I have like, I can't scroll for too long because I have to go then get some work done. But yeah, I don't know. I find myself actually getting into like a scrolling of a Reels loop, and I literally have to like slap myself in my face where I'm like, what am I doing? I literally am just like scrolling, and I'm like stuck in a loop. And then you really know like this stuff is so addictive. And it's made for it. I'm like, why am I scrolling? I don't care about these people. I don't know these people. Like, why do I care? Like if they're like restoring a stairway or not, like I don't know, it's so crazy. But you have to catch yourself.
Do you think, I mean, obviously before we talked about how you feel like the internet, even if it shut down tomorrow, you guys would still be doing what you're doing, especially because of the fact that you host like events and you have partners and like all that kind of thing. Do you feel like there's a necessity to have a digital presence for people that are like now coming up and coming in, and like, do you feel like that's the only way to do it, or can you still survive with like traditional
I don't know if you can. I think that you can survive with tradition. Like, I don't know. I think that it depends on who your consumer is. If you're dealing with like billionaires and you're selling like $2 million cars and you don't care if 1 million people know about it, you only need like the right 200 people to know about it. And you're at the right events that only those people are at. And, I could see it working for people like that. Like, who did I just talk to? I talked to a guy who worked for like Michael Jordan, and I was at like Michael Jordan's NASCAR team, which is 2311, which he co-owns with like another NASCAR driver.
I didn't even know he had a NASCar team.
Yeah,
I don't follow
2311. It's a NASCAR team. He's like super into it. He's from North Carolina and was like into it. And I was just asking about Michael Jordan this and that. And he was like, yeah, well, like, nah, he doesn't have any social, like he doesn't care, like he's not trying.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You're like so big that you don't need it. So like, I guess if you're Michael Jordan or you're only selling to billionaires, then like you don't need the internet.
Yeah, literally.
But, I don't know, but you do need it as like a small digital content agency trying to make it. You probably need it as like a, a content creator trying to grow a business. You probably need it as like a brand who's trying to sell more shirts. Like, I do think that it's needed for most companies. But.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's the only way to do it now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some brands have some success with making interesting kind of like advertising content, but it just shows up on the internet. So it's like, I don't know. It's like, that is where it has to then end up to get to somebody. So it's like, I don't even know what you would do without it. Like, aside from maybe like throwing just like the super sick like festival sort of activations and stuff like that, where you have thousands of people like dancing and enjoying your brand at Coachella or something. But then again, they still make those for like the internet so that whoever is there is sharing it to the millions of people who weren't able to go there. But
jeez, yeah, you're so right.
And then like, I don't know, the whole like creating of FOMO and like people trying to like vicariously live through the people that they're watching is also part of the toxicness of it too. So yeah, I don't know.
Do you feel like it's going to affect the future of motorsports?
I think that it will always actually be an aid to motorsports. I think it will be an accelerant or a conduit or a funnel for new fans. So I don't think it's going to necessarily hurt motorsports. I think that like the content creator kind of community and like the economy around that is definitely going to go through flux and people are going to figure it out. I think that like ad agencies or influencer agencies or even brands are going to kind of change their approach of who they use, how they use them, how they're getting kind of brand integrations into their content, and what is that worth, you know? I mean, is somebody using, you know, Valvoline for like 1 second in a YouTube car video that 100,000 people watch? Is that worth 25 grand? I don't know. Maybe, you know, like it's kind of what you do around it. It's kind of what you do in real life actually with it, is like activations and events and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that will all be in flux, but motorsport as like a competition, I think, needs the internet. Even the Formula D needs it for a live stream, which is some of its strongest numbers and where most people are watching it, to an F1 that needs it for new fans who are finding it because they followed like a TikTok that is breaking down drivers' outfits when they walk into the paddock. Like,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I mean, it's all needed, and it's all attracting different people and subsets of, you know, of different communities that are getting involved in motorsports, and I'm happy for all of them. Like, I don't care how you find it. It could be from like the super dorky aerodynamics page that I watch. I have like terrible graphics, but it like shows whose wing was slightly different this week. I look at that stuff. Yeah. And sometimes I look at the stuff where it's like, hey, what did Lewis show up to the track in? Yeah. And I'm like, man, that's a crazy suit. And then I scroll to the next thing. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's all needed. I think it's a good thing for motorsports. Yeah. I don't know how it's all going to end up for like the car influencers, the Hoonigans, the donuts, the different characters. Like, that stuff's going to be in flux, I think, for a bit. But
I was going to say, I think that it's crazy how much it affects even like the motorsports athletes, because of how much you just have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And Ken Block was literally part of the reason that we've gotten as crazy as we are. Like, there's absolutely no way that he did not influence like even the stuff that we see in movies now, because people are just coming up with new stuff because of something that they saw on the internet.
Definitely a benchmark. And I think that he set some unrealistic like expectations, because it's definitely hard to get videos with 32 million views, you know.
But like they're making the athletes do like crazy stuff now, and like also like I feel like the athletes, like, we're just being pushed to like a different level of we didn't even know we had to do this before, versus like before with like the guys that like race motocross, for example, like getting first place was like kind of good enough. Not saying that they weren't pushing like consistently to be better and better, but like now you got this kid on the internet that's doing some crazier shit than you are, and then you're like, oh, now I really need to step
it depends on which motorsports thing, because when it is like a supercross and even like, you know, NASCAR, IndyCar, like your online or your on-track performance is kind of like sets the level of you getting a job and staying there and whatever. But I kind of feel like your online performance is what gets you more sponsors, and you become more sponsorable, and people are like, oh, I love this guy, I love this girl, because they're always like doing cool stuff, so I'm going to sponsor them more, which like then gets your on-track performance better, because your team's happier, you have more money out there. So like, I think that it's important, but like then if you go down to like just car influencers and people who are doing builds and making little fun viral videos, drifting around, or you're a pro drifter, like, those, it does require you to have it. Like, you're kind of, it's a whole different thing, because it's not so much competition. It is a judge sport. Like it depends. I mean, and even if you're an off-road like racer, like trophy trucks, I'm like, you're only famous to like the off-road community,
to that niche,
unless you make a viral video like a BJ Baldwin, and then you break out. And
but then again, you have to stay on top of that,
and then you have to stay on top of it. You have to invest money to go make a sick viral video with your trophy truck. Because just winning Baja, I don't know if anybody really cares, because like, where do you even watch that? Like, I don't even know the score website, like, you know, so like, I don't, you know, so like, I think that there's different motorsports that require you to have a strong social program. Formula Drift, maybe some of these off-road things. Like, I don't know what's going on with Rallycross right now, but like some of those. Now, if you're in F1 and like, you know, I mean, we manage Charles Leclerc's page. He has 16 million followers on Instagram. Like, when we started with him,
overwhelming. Like, what the fuck do you even do with that? I would never log on. I would literally never log on. I'd be like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, but you know, some of them actually feel an obligation and a service. Like, this many people like me, I need to make sure that I'm like, showing my, you know, showing interest and whatever. You know, again, it's a place that you can work with your partners to like put out the content and do it in the style that you want. But you know, I think it's a big responsibility. It's a big value. But But, you know, you just see the like massive kind of influence that like some of those global motorsports stars have, and you know what they do with it's cool. They build brands, they build like apparel, they do a lot of stuff that then is for the people who are like cheering them on. So, you know, I don't know, it's positive, but like that's a lot of followers to deal with.
It's a lot of people. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like also then you probably feel like you're like under a microscope and you're like, oh God, if I like even scratch my ear the wrong way, somebody's gonna have something to say about it.
Well, for sure. I mean, also like just the amount of like phones that are up. Like if you're leaving a restaurant, like even though most of these dudes are super generous with their time and all of that, but like if you for 1 second kind of look like a jerk that you aren't like signing an autograph because you're like in a rush or you're like whatever, then all of a sudden there's like 30 cameras filming that and be like, wow, look at this driver, they didn't stop for this person, they must be a jerk. So like that, you're under a microscope with all the cameras that are around of like user generated content around you too. So like not only like what you post on your own channels, and you need to be conscious of that, but it's like what is happening just like when you're moving around in public. But that's a whole nother thing. But you know, again, you kind of get paid for it, and that's your job. And like, yeah, I sympathize. I don't feel bad. Even the drivers are like, hey, this is kind of part of the job. The appearances, the fan fest, the fans outside the hotel, like we should be thankful for that. We should appreciate it. Most of all the guys that I know well that are at that level are pretty appreciative of it, are pretty patient, and definitely go make the time to go like out and like sign autographs and stuff. So like, I think it's a cool thing. And I think that like, yeah, if you're at that level, you should be giving some back.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of like building a brand for those kinds of people, what kind of advice would you have for somebody that's trying to build a brand now and like build a community mostly? Because again, like I said, I feel like that's what separates Race Service from everyone else, is the fact that you guys have like a real world community as well, and the fact that you guys can actually get people to events and like all that kind of thing, and like have people backing you.
I mean, I don't know. It depends on who's trying to build a brand. If I would say like if a driver's trying to build a brand, I think that it is some consistency. I think that it is speaking very directly to your fans. Like I've always told, like we've had lots of drivers come here and like, oh, we want to hire you to do content. We want to like do whatever. And I'm like, some of the easiest stuff is like literally just like selfie cam. Like,
holding
hey
your
guys,
phone,
tough race today, but this is what happened. We're going to get better next week. See you later. Like, just doing that, I think every race makes a huge difference and builds like a community if you're just directly talking to them, and they don't need to go see it on NBC Sports or ESPN. Like, you're just directly talking to them.
I feel like that's why people follow big professional athletes anyway, you know, because they want to hear from them directly before they get it from, you know, the big ESPN, news source.
Yeah. And I think so. I think that's super important. So I think that that's like a way to build a brand. When it comes to like building a brand, like we helped Charles Leclerc like launch his ice cream brand. He like built a whole ice cream brand called Leclerc.
That's cool.
Yeah, and we did some of the initial photo shoots and a lot of like the cool content around the launch of it with him. It was really great. But that was like actually building a brand, like getting a agency. It wasn't us to design the logo and like doing stuff, packaging this, distribution, and like that was like actually creating a brand. We played some role in that, mostly around kind of the content, and Charles creating some pretty like big viral photo moments that were on his channel. But that was like helping build a brand. Like for a person to build a brand, I do think it's consistency and talking directly to your audience. I think is like one of the first things that does it. And then having like a cohesive, you know, color palettes, like logo types, like just when you do show up, like something is recognizable, whether it's the windshield banner on the race car that you drive, whether it's a colorway, it's, you know, whatever. I think people even like Colette have done a good job. You're like, hey, like neon, like boom, like, you know, like, oh, now you like associate it. So I think building a brand has to do with like visual things. And again, it's like, maybe I don't wear my schlubby ripped up shirt that I was just in the garage, and I put on my like bright red hoodie so everyone remembers me because I always have this bright red hoodie on. I don't know. Like there's things I think you can do from a design and, like a design and aesthetic standpoint that helps build a brand. And then, I think it's also like there's a visual style to it. I think that's a little more nuanced of like what type of content you're making, what type of lensing you're using, what type of like, hey, this is very much like wide-angled vlog that you're handing around. Like,
Yeah.
I like that type of stuff. Feels like you're there with somebody.
Yeah.
Other people like super kind of aesthetic and like really nice cameras and lock-offs and stuff. Like maybe that's your brand, and you do it. So yeah, I think all of those things are a factor.
Well, that's good to know because I feel like URL versus IRL is on the right track because we have these little. I don't even know if you noticed the little avocado down there.
I see the avocado.
Yeah,
I think my kids have
really
those things.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's Jade the avocado. So she's my travel pillow. And the first time I ever did a podcast, I did one with Sarah Haro, and we were in Michigan in like a hotel doing the first podcast that I ever did, and I just had this with me, and I noticed that both of us were like passing it back and forth because it helps to like be able to like talk and hold something in your hands, you know.
Yeah.
Especially usually when I have a mic stand in somebody's face and they like keep hitting it or like whatever. So I like try to give them that. And now I have like all these little like fruit plushies. Like I have like a strawberry and a blueberry.
That's part of a brand.
Yeah,
plushies.
It's working. The plushies are working.
No, yeah. I mean, I think that also like people being like fun, lighthearted, not taking themselves too seriously. Like we kind of suffer from that where maybe it like feels like we're kind of taking ourselves too seriously, but we really don't. It's just because we like an
you guys
aesthetic
have like skateboarding videos and basketball videos in the courtyard. So like I
mess
don't think
around.
you guys are too bad.
No, we definitely mess around and we definitely don't take it. But like, yeah, we kind of like focus on like really nice photography and stuff where like, I don't know, maybe people who are doing more like photo dump style of like bad photos, like that's what they like or that's a trend. But like us, we just like kind of like what we do. We have amazing photographers. We have amazing content creators. Like that's what we're going to put out there. That's what we like. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Wow. Where do you think race service is going in the future? I know you guys aren't going anywhere. But like, where are you going?
Yeah,
what do you do from
that's
here?
A good question. I mean, we're like 6 years in, and we feel really like fortunate. We feel really, a lot of gratitude for everybody who's kind of like been supporting us from the beginning. We spent the first few years really building the concept based on being an agency and having great clients and doing, everything from brand strategy to content creation and social channel management. All still probably going to be a major part of our business going forward, but we're going to focus on owned events. We're going to create probably 4 to 5 events a year that will be all over the world, but some for sure anchored in LA, some in Italy.
To New York.
Yeah, we'll definitely do something in the East Coast. Yeah, definitely an East Coast thing. But no, like kind of create these events that are very special and very race service, has like, partnerships, has like a place where the car community is getting together, having fun in cars, driving cars, looking at cool cars. So like that's a future part that I'm personally very vested in. It's like kind of one of my responsibilities here in our group of execs of like what we call a rock that I'm focusing on, which is like something that's not part of our day-to-day business that we put effort towards. And so owned events is our example. What we just did in Italy called Tutto Bene was sort of the first version of it. And we're super proud with how that went off. Definitely more around the brand and what we're doing with like apparel and kind of collaborations with everyone from, people like Puma or AMG or some of these different brands within, our motorsports world. We want to do like more collabs with them. And then I could also see us expanding kind of the physical space, not only here in LA, which like we kind of have like used every inch of this space right now. And we're going to continue to do that, but like maybe expanding to a warehouse space as well, or in addition to, and then there's some stuff that we might do in Europe. Like we're looking at some spaces and some partnerships to maybe do like a race service coffee shop in Italy or something.
Oh my gosh.
So we have some ideas around that. Those take a little more, lining up all the right pieces, but they're definitely like on the vision board.
Yeah. Do you guys use real vision boards? Do you like actually make it? No,
really.
Oh damn.
The digital
that's
vision
the
board.
secret.
No,
Right there.
I don't know. Some of our people actually might. I don't know. I think it feels like that's like a James thing or something. I bet there's some vision boards somewhere here, but mine's a little bit more spiritually.
Yeah.
I imagine them. I should probably write some stuff down.
Do you believe in manifestation?
I believe in it because I've like seen it. I'm like a skeptic on the side who's like, whatever, but like, very much, my partner James is kind of about it. I definitely believe in like positive energy surrounding you. I have to like maybe work hard to like make myself not think in a negative mindset. Occasionally I'm pretty positive almost all the time, and I'm like, pretty chill too, and I don't get too stressed about stuff. but I do have to like remind myself to be positive or not to be jealous. But I think that's a good exercise to like have to like grab yourself and be like, no, don't do that. And then I think if you surround yourself with positive energy and you put it out there and you just like try not to do anything wrong, so that nobody's perfect, but like try not to wrong anybody. Have a clean conscience, like.
I feel like words are super powerful. I did like a whole episode the other day, that's when I was talking to you about the airplanes and all the stuff going by. But I did like a whole episode about it, and I was just like, I feel like words are super powerful, and like, I don't know, I've noticed that they've made a very big difference in my life specifically, and I don't think
like saying what you want to do.
Yeah, and like just believing in myself, and like I call myself delusional all the time, but like it's working, and it's gotten me to kind of where I'm at. You know what I mean?
I think it definitely works, and I've seen it, and I've seen people who kind of surround themselves with negative attitude and put themselves down or don't think enough of themselves. You know, like there's a lot, you know, confidence is important, and confidence comes from being good at stuff. Like being good at stuff comes from working hard. You know, like there's a lot of layers to it, but like get yourself to self-confidence and like things can happen, and like speak things into existence. I don't know if I do that enough, but I believe in it. But I definitely like talk about it. Even like saying, oh, we're going to have a coffee shop in Italy. Like we're pretty far from having a coffee shop in Italy, but the more that we say it, like the more we say it, it might happen. Like we have friends in Italy who are saying, hey, check out this space. This would maybe be a good spot for it. If we talk about it enough times, then maybe it happens. So
who's the coffee snob here? Who was it?
I am myself as a consumer for sure. So I love good coffee.
Yeah, same.
I seek out good coffee. I go to all the best coffee shops. I'm super critical of coffee shops that blow it. So we just love it. And even since the first day of race service, we started Rise and Shine. We just like had coffee happening here on Wednesdays. And we had our friends at Minotti's, this dude Nicely, who's like coffee guru, good friend of ours, and came and just we always had good coffee here on Wednesdays. We were doing it weekly when we first started, which was crazy on Wednesdays. And like it was all the time. But then we moved it to monthlies to make it a little more manageable. But like we always like having good coffee here, and we have good coffee partners. Right now we're partnered with Motoring Coffee, which they're great friends of ours, and they also care about having good coffee.
They're in LA, right?
Yeah, they're in West LA. Yeah, we just love coffee. And now we have like actually an amazing partnership growing with La Marzocco, which is like the most throwdown, best espresso machine out there, Italian fine machinery. And we are doing like a pop-up with them here that's going to be happening in October. We have a few of the machines around, so we're always cranking like good coffees all day long. So now it's a big part of...
I'm about to try to move back and work here.
I know, you should. You can pop up right here. But yeah, so we have good coffee here. We like good coffee. Yeah. I don't know. It seems like it's just a part of car culture. It's so weird because it's like you wake up early, you get coffee, you show your car, you drive canyon roads. Like, it's just like a part of it.
For anybody that might not know what Rise and Shine is, can you like explain what it is and how you guys even came up with the idea? Obviously, it's like a car meet, but it's like very exclusive car meet in a sense.
Well, we first started it. Like, it's just something we wanted to do. We actually did it on Wednesdays from 9 to 12, which was like the most random time. People are like, I have work. We're like,
You're
it's not for you then.
Sorry,
yeah. We're like, I guess that sucks for you, right?
That's the exclusivity.
And it was really for kind of motorsports people and maybe creators who are busy during the weekends, and also freelancers who like have the week to go meet people. So like we started doing it on Wednesdays as this random thing. We just knew we wanted coffee. Very niche.
Yeah.
We can only really hold like 7-8 cars. So it's like a curated small group of like 8 cars. It's like inviting people into the space because like we aren't open to the public necessarily besides when Rise and Shine is happening, or one of our events, which sometimes they're for a partner, so they aren't fully open to the public. But Rise and Shine is our moment to be very open to the public, and who's ever interested in race service can come, meet people, meet other creators, meet people on our team, check out some merchandise. Maybe there's like something cool that we're dropping, and see cool cars. So that now happens. We were on Wednesdays, which is very rare. We've now moved it to Fridays to be a little better.
Still a little better,
yeah. A little better.
Still
not
9
to 12. Yeah, it's still 9 to 12 during normal work hours. But it's on Fridays. We do it first Fridays of the month, and we have different themes, and it's always a good time and really good music. My cousin's the DJ.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So good music, really good coffee, and always like a good selection of curated cars.
Yeah, and now you guys have like themes. You guys will do themes and like have specific...
did like a made in Italy one. We did a 12-cylinder one recently.
You guys had like a drop top theme one time too, right?
Drop top.
That's
yeah,
cool.
just kind of different themes so we can like rally around a little
Yeah.
group of cars. But yeah, it's great.
That's
we love that as
awesome.
like a place where it's kind of like your very much entry point to race service. Like, because
Yeah.
people are like, I don't know, my friend just told me to come here. I didn't really know what it was. I mean, we are seeing our like digital presence, which like I don't even really spend a lot of time on TikTok, if any, but some of, Gabe on our team is into it. He runs our TikTok and it's growing. It just has like maybe just past like 10,000 or something. And tons of people are finding us from TikTok for Rise and Shine. It's like super random, but like a lot of people come and they're like, oh, I saw this on the TikTok. And
TikTok
like,
is a great
all right.
way to find
It does.
new
It
things
draws
to do.
people in and definitely like stuff like, I don't know. But so yeah, the Rise and Shine events definitely are a good place for people to first get their taste of race service and see what it is. And everyone's welcome. We love having, anybody, come, take photos, enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really special thing. I feel like it's a very special vibe. It's like my favorite car event that I ever go to. It's always Rise and Shine. Every time that I get on a plane, I'm like, oh, God, I hope there's a Rise and Shine. I hope there's a Rise and Shine to race service
I
while
don't
I'm
even
there.
know what the date is. I guess our next one is October 4th.
Okay, yeah, I might be here.
It's
Or
going
maybe
to
I'll
be
have
for
to be here.
Lufticult, which is going to be the next day
Cool.
at Universal Studios. So we'll do like a Lufticult themed Rise and Shine on the
Mm-hmm.
Friday before. But yeah, no, it's great. And we have like our guy Taylor, who's kind of managing
Mm-hmm.
all of it, has been amazing. He does community management. He knows everybody,
Mm-hmm.
deals with everybody who's getting their cars, load in, load out. It's a lot of work, but
Yeah.
we do it like, we spend money every Rise and Shine for sure.
Yeah.
I don't even, I don't think we even get our own coffee for free at Rise and Shine. Actually, maybe we do now, but in the past it was like we just paid for our own coffee.
Yeah.
We had coffee, whatever. But it was really just like the community, like the cost of it was like to get community together. And I think that's been a really special thing that we're going to continue. So to us, it's like the best investment, which is building a cool community around race service. And we started it with coffee. We'll do it with more stuff. So.
Yeah, dude. Well, wrapping up here, do you have anything that you feel like would be like your exclamation point statement? Like, what would you want?
No, I mean, exclamation is like, one, thanks for having me on. It's great talking to you. It's been
Yeah.
a little bit since we've had a long convo. We
Yeah.
usually see each other at Rise and Shine. I'm like
Yeah, real
talking to
quick.
500 people.
I'm like,
and
there's
they're like,
Jacob.
hey, I know, I definitely love to make a point to say hi, but I like when people can come by during regular hours to chill, or if
Yeah.
they want to have a meeting or pick my brain, I'm totally always down for that. So we're always down to like talk to people or give them like some creative advice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as an exclamation, I mean, internet, don't buy into the bad parts of it. Enjoy the good parts of it. Use it as a global connector.
Yeah.
Use it as
It's a tool,
as
really.
a tool
Yeah.
to showcase your special abilities. Don't get too depressed about what the others are doing, because it really doesn't matter. And yeah, ultimate creativity, just putting in all the creative energy you can into a project. Like, you're gonna get good results and care about what you do. So,
Yeah. Art over everything else.
art over everything. For
Yeah, absolutely. I have one last question for you.
Real. All right.
Do you guys have what do you feel like your cutoff is going to be? Like, when do you feel like, oh shit, there's this too much and we can't focus because there's too much here on our plate?
I don't know, actually. I mean, I think what we need to do is be a little more choosy, and that goes with like that whole shifting from like having a bunch of clients that we service to having a bunch of IP and properties that we believe in with clients attached to them. So like there's a shift there happening, and it is about us cutting stuff or kind of moving it off of our plate, which is maybe some of the things that's a little bit too much in that services world, that we aren't enjoying that experience. And so we'll kind of push a little bit of that away so we can focus on our own stuff. But like to us, our clients are sort of our lifeblood, are our family. Like, we love a lot of our clients. We've been with Hot Wheels shirt that you're wearing right now for
God.
7 years.
Literally, I nonstop get compliments on this shirt. I wore it last week or whatever, and like people were just like, "Oh my God, that's such a cool shirt. Where'd you get it from?"
That was a cool one.
It is.
Yeah, and that was a cool one because that was for like AAPI, and we helped them with a bunch of their kind of like diversity initiatives that year. And we did Black History Month, and we did AAPI, and we did Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yep.
We actually were creating really cool merchandise that went with them that people like love. But that's like a great way that we can work with our sponsors, like with our clients, with our brand partners, is like help them create really cool events that we like to be a part of. So yeah, I would say like focusing a little less on like kind of the monotonous services part that's probably like low margin and like takes up a lot of time but doesn't give us a lot of reward, and focus on the things that are like truly like going to change motorsports, going to affect, you know, positive car culture moments, you know, all of that stuff. I think that's what we're going to focus on. But you know, we'll see. We'll see. I think that these owned events, what we're very focused on, will help us define what we put our time into. So, yes, I don't know what the cutoff is, but I do know that we're going to take
eventually.
We're going to take on a little bit less of the super service aspect of our job, but like we are a race service. That's what we're here for, to service racing.
Yeah.
That's been our motto, but we're going to do a little more for ourselves, I think.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on URL versus IRL, Jacob.
Thank you. This
was awesome. I was so nervous. You don't understand.
Really?
I was like,
I was nervous. No, I don't even do many. I've done like 1 or 2 podcasts, and they were fun. I think the biggest one I did was Smoking Tire, and Matt's great.
Yeah.
And that was fun. But that was a couple of years ago, I feel like. I don't know. But anyways, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming. That was great.
Cool. Thanks.
Are you fucking kidding me? No way. All right. Talk to you soon on the next URL versus